requires to take and serve in these jobs. Naveed Jamali is with us, notable because of his work as a double agent for the FBI against Russian military intelligence, and thus is the author of How to Catch a Russian Spy, particularly timely title these days. Naveed, what did you make of the testimony of the man who very well looks like he will be the next director of the FBI?
I think it's exactly what both Matt and John have said. I mean, he answered all the questions that I believe the American public wants to hear from the future FBI director. The one thing that gives me pause, Brian, and I don't think it's a disqualifier by any stretch of the imagination, but that is he left law enforcement in 2005. And if you think about the tools of the trade and how quickly they change, just, you know, these little devices here, it's a 12-year gap, and so he was very
he was forthright about that, I thought.
Absolutely. So there is a very much a learning curve, and I think from the rank and file, that is something that they're going to look towards their new boss, is how quickly can he get read on, how quickly can he learn the new nomenclature, the new tools, the new tactics, and I think he showed exactly a willingness. So while he addressed the public's concerns, I also think he did a fabulous job addressing the concerns that the rank and file may face from their future boss.
Yeah, Naveed, the questions about torture, for example, hugely important issue, and as we saw, as we were reminded, hugely important to some of the senators on this panel, as was the topic of, are you going to stand up to this boss, because we've already seen what this boss is willing to do. But given that so much of the conversation we're having is about cyber, so much of this Russian matter is about cyber, I think Mr. Wray had no choice but to say, I'm not up to speed, and I would want to pressure test what we know and our best practices, and I need to get up to speed.
That's exactly right. And look, while the tools may have changed, the threat remains, right? So the threat will always remain. It's just the tactics that shift. And I think John addressed this fabulously in terms of the Russian success here. The Russians, as he said, they used a network of, no less than 6 people to essentially throw a dangle out to the Trump orbit, and they took it, I believe, hook, line, and sinker. Now, what that illustrates to me, Brian, is that if this was in fact the Russians were successful in that operation, by default, that means that there was a level of failure on the counterintelligence standpoint. So as the incoming director, he's going to have to look at the capability, the tools, the manpower, the funding that goes towards counterintelligence. And my goodness, as someone who lived in this world, I can tell you that in many capacities, our counterintelligence program has been functioning very much in a Cold War era, as we see the Russian threat remains, but it has morphed. And it might be time to perhaps give it a bit of a reboot.
Naveed Jamali, thank you, and thank you for your patience. What our viewers don't often see is that people like Naveed and John and Matthew are standing by and waiting through an afternoon of hearings to talk to us at moments like this. We appreciate it very much. Set the scene briefly. Senator Grassley has made news just outside the hearing room on the other side of a break.